So, you clicked on the video, you're probably wondering, should I track my calories? Should I not? It's super common for humans to sprinkle a little bit of cognitive dissonance on something and figure, no, I don't feel like doing it, so I probably don't need to. And one time I saw someone talking about intuitive eating, so I can just magically figure out what I'm supposed to eat. In my journey to become the best I can, as ultimate as I can, an athletic person, the body composition that I want, I wish that I had started a lot earlier. Tracking my calories has completely changed everything. I used to be 245, now I'm 185, and I'm confident I'm going to get down to 168, which is a weight class for boxing. My whole life I always figured there's no way that I could. So even though I figured there was no way that I could, I always tried. I was like, oh, I don't drink soda. I don't do this. I do all these things to try and maintain my weight, and I eat healthy things. I exercised a ton. It never amounted to anything. I never really lost any serious weight. I'd go between 240 and 220, give or take, but nothing really changed. Eventually I got really determined and I cut out like everything. I just ate salmon and spinach, chicken and broccoli, the typical thing. And for me, a weakness is chocolate milk. And I just completely cut that out. And I lost a lot of weight. What I didn't realize at the time, which is the point of this video, one of my main points of this video, of why you need to track your calories, is that oftentimes we are tracking our calories in our head very inefficiently, very inaccurately. Why not be more precise with it? When I was only eating spinach and salmon and chicken and broccoli, I was probably eating like 1,500 calories a day, which is a bit too low for the days that I exercised, looking back, now that I track and I'm very aware of what I'm supposed to be eating. So I was totally damaging myself and not realizing it. Whereas people will say that they don't want to track their calories and start thinking of it with that mindset, like, oh, I'm going to damage myself, or that's too strict for me, I want to live my life. When in fact they are tracking calories, if they're at least concerned about their body composition and not trying to lose weight, they are tracking their calories in their head just incorrectly. So one of the things that I think I bring to the table is how to implement things, how to creatively make things easy and work. There's a zillion guys on YouTube that I like that I think maybe are more knowledgeable than me and have a lot of great information about injury prevention, working out, getting the best body that you want. And I follow them and I learn a lot from them. Channels like AthleanX, Squat University, Ryan Humiston, all great channels, and many more. But something that I bring to the table is some of my creative ways that I like to add these things in, make them easy to do seamlessly, or creative ways to think about something to give you that extra motivation to do it. Because at the end of the day, even if you know how to do something, if you think in your mind that it's only slightly good for you or only somewhat beneficial, then you're probably going to not do it. The laziness will take over, all of the excuses will come up in your head, and you'll just not do it. So I'm going to explain some of the tricks that I use and how I like to track calories. But before that, of course, we'll explain whether or not you really should or not. So here's an interesting mindset that I have about this that definitely helped convince me and motivates me to continue to track. Whether or not I track, there's a certain amount of calories I'm supposed to eat to maintain my body weight. So I figured out that mine is about 2,800 calories a day. So if I don't really do anything, I don't run, I don't walk, I don't bike, I don't box, I don't lift weights, I don't do anything particularly intense, things like going to the car, going to the mailbox, maybe going to the store and picking up some food, little things like that, I should be eating about 2,800 calories a day, which is 19,600 calories a week. Now, relax, I don't think about that very much, but it's an important thing to think about and to frame in your mind to help keep you motivated and realize how important this is. So for a typical person, to make an example out of this, if you also are supposed to eat 2,800 calories a day, and you're conscious of your body weight and you want to lose weight or you want to be healthy or whatever, but you're not tracking, you might do something like eat 2,500 calories a day. Again, to compare apples to apples and make the math easy, we're talking about days that you're not exercising, running, or anything. Because if you add exercise to it, then all of these things are exactly the same, just those different numbers. We'll get to that later. So typically you'd probably have someone who would skip out on some meals and like The same person that's going to say, oh, I don't want to track, I want to live my life, is going to not have that cake or not have extra rice or have a smaller serving of whatever if they're conscious about their weight and actively trying to lose weight or maintain. And they would skip out on stuff, and just eat what they deem healthy. Let's say that they're eating about 2,500 calories and they're supposed to eat 2,800 to maintain. So they're in a deficit of 300. Here's why the weekly number is important. Typically, people will be healthy Monday to Thursday or maybe Friday, and then, of course, they cheat on the weekends. They have their excuses. I went out to eat, blah, 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 birthday parties, whatever. So eating in a 300 calorie deficit Monday to Thursday would put you at about 1,200 calorie deficit. 3, 6, 9, 12. So now you're short 1,200 calories on your 19,600, which would essentially leave you in a place to be losing weight. But on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, let's say you eat 1,000 calories over on each of those days. That's 3,000 surplus. So 3,000 minus the 1,200 is 1,800. So you figure you're going to gain maybe half a pound every week in that situation. This is something that I like to focus on, and this is what motivates me to stay consistent with these types of things, is recognizing what typically people do, how it messes them up, and what actually is happening. So that type of scenario, typically people slowly gain weight, and next thing you know, they're 35 or whatever, they're getting older, and then they're thinking, oh yeah, it must be because I'm older, my metabolism's slowing down. When in fact, they just don't track their calories. So there's these little surpluses all the time. In that perfect example, you would gain half a pound a week. That would catch up really fast. But, then they might have weeks where they eat even less, or weekends where they don't cheat and they don't eat all that. So they're eating in somewhat of a deficit. Plus maybe they exercise a little to help those numbers. But in reality, they're not accurate. That's what I like about tracking calories, is that you're accurate and precise. And if you're not tracking, you're not accurate and you're not precise. These are the mindset shifts for me, because that's another way to look at it. If you're not tracking, you're not being precise. Why not just be accurate and eat things that you like? And, when you have your cheat days, you have your cheat days, but at least you know the exact amount. This is basically a diagnosis for any kind of problems, because if you gain weight or you lose weight, you're like, oh, that's right, okay, because I was short on my weekly calories or whatever. This branches off into a bunch of other things that I think benefit your life in an athletic way, in a health way, because the more you track, the better you get at it. So this is another thing. People would typically think things like, oh, I don't have time for tracking, or I want to live my life, not recognizing the potential, which is the more you track, the better you get at tracking. And all of this tracking is done on apps on your phone. It's not like back in the day you'd have to write that down on a piece of paper. So you put things in the app, it remembers things you typically eat. You probably eat a lot of the same things, and you just keep putting them in the app. And now you have that laid out for you. Just like whip out your phone. I whip out my phone. I'm like, oh, okay, like I have 1,000 calories left today. Or some days, I'm like, oh, I'm over 500 calories. So I know, like, okay, I can like walk a little extra or run a little extra. I was planning on running 3 miles, but if I run 3 miles, I'll still be 100 over. So maybe I'll run 3.5. Or you can not. You can ignore it. You can, like you said, live your life and just be over that day. But at least know the next day you could eat a little less. You could let yourself be 100 calories under if you're 100 calories over the day before. People will see me doing things like that and think, man, that's crazy. Maybe that's an eating disorder. You're going a little intense, under eating today because of yesterday. And it's like, yeah, but most people do that. They just do it really inefficiently or inaccurately. I remember I would work out, I would box. I would do a whole training session and think, yeah, that was really tough. I worked really hard. There was smoke coming off of my head on a winter day inside some old boxing gym. And then I think, yeah, I can eat all this stuff. When now that I track and I know all of the actual numbers of what was going on and I have good estimates, I probably burned 600, 700, 800 calories if I'm lucky. And then I treated myself with like 2,000. Why is that not considered an eating disorder? I binged and ate a lot of food, even if it was healthy, because I thought I worked out hard, I earned this, and I was gaining weight. And then after months of working out, you start thinking, well, I'm not losing weight, maybe I'm wasting my time. On that note, I have a bit of a saying, and that's to help keep you motivated to do whatever sport you're doing and whatever weightlifting you're doing, whatever running you're doing, and that's running is for running. Running will not make you lose weight. Lifting weights is for getting strong and being fit and being athletic, fixing joint problems. If you do mobility work, it won't make you lose weight. These things help. And when you start tracking your calories, you recognize how, of course, it helps. You're like, oh, I have more calories because I ran, or I have more calories because I biked. I have more calories because I lifted a lot of weights. And you have, of course, more muscle, which helps you burn calories throughout the day in the long term. But it's better to be accurate about those calories. So if you ran and you burned 300 calories, then you should know, like, okay, I'll eat 300 more calories. Bam. That's being precise. Not only is it going to stop you from gaining weight, it's going to prevent you from under eating, it's going to prevent you from overeating, and it's going to give you the exact nutrition that you're supposed to have, which I think is optimal. This spreads out and branches out into a bunch of other things. How many micronutrients are you getting? Are your macro percentages good? All of that stuff is done on these apps for you. So you can be like, wow, I've been eating 70% carbs or 70% fat when you don't want to. But with this, a good mindset to have about it, again, I'm constantly countering this, oh, I want to live my life. So let's say you're tracking your calories and you find out that you're over on calories, like every day. Does that mean let your emotions get the better of you and just stop tracking? No. Does it mean not to live your life and like cut out everything to satisfy the app numbers? Also no. It just means note it, be accurate, and then start trying to make the changes as you go. In my journey to getting the body that I wanted, losing the weight that I wanted to lose, and be the best athlete that I can, I realized that long-term thinking is the best. Because if you go on some crash diet, not to knock any crash diet, some of them work. I use keto. I know it gets a bad rap. I'm not keto now, but if you're cutting out a bunch of foods that you love, which sometimes you might have to do if the foods are pretty bad, but you cut out the foods that you love, you lose the weight. And then once you get to the weight, you're eventually going to be like, okay, I satisfied this goal. I wanted to lose whatever, 20 pounds. I lost 20 pounds. Now you're going to go back to eating those foods and you're going to gain the weight. So I think the best way, especially that's worked for me, is that you don't do anything on Monday. On Monday, I'm going to cut out sugar. On Monday, I'm going to stop eating pasta and rice. I'm going to stop eating brownies. No, I don't think that works because determination only goes so far. The better option is, okay, I'm eating sugar, more sugar than I want. For me, I like to eat zero sugar. Everyone's got their goals. But, okay, I'm eating the sugar. Find a replacement that's a lot healthier. And don't jump and think, okay, these replacements are fake sugar and they're bad. Not everything has to be that. Sometimes a replacement for something could be an extremely healthy option. One of the things that I use, for example, is this raw vegan cake that I make. I'm not vegan, and not every single replacement is going to be the answer to all of your problems. But you just slowly build up that tool belt, and eventually, in some time, you'll find yourself in a position where you're like, man, all of my go-to options are excellent. I have an answer for everything. So for me, one of my biggest problems was chocolate milk. Don't laugh. I know I'm 12, but I really like chocolate milk. And I always just remember thinking like, how can I not drink this? Like it's so good. I was drinking a gallon a day. That's a lot. That's a huge replacement. Now, being 60 pounds less, guess how much I'm drinking? Basically a gallon a day. See, because I found replacements that work for me. And my mindset is that even if the replacement isn't perfect and cognitive dissonance is going to make you say, oh, but this drink isn't even that healthy anyway. So you'll just go back to drinking the worst thing. It's like, think of it in the long term. I was here, then I kind of went here a little bit, then I went here. Now I'm like here, okay? But I can knock the drinks that I'm making that are basically my chocolate milk addiction substitution, the answer to my problems in life. I can knock them. And I think that's a good mentality to have. I'm not just like, oh, I found the answer. It's helped me lose weight and that's the end of it. This is the healthiest drink ever. I like to drink these protein drinks that I get from Sam's Club Members Mark. Sometimes I drink Atkins chocolate protein drinks. All of them have no sugar, and I really try to not eat sugar. And I really don't try. I don't. I pretty much eat zero added sugar every single day. Maybe once every 2 months, there's some kind of situation where I have like the tiniest bit. One time I had sweet potatoes that had brown sugar in them. That's about it. And if that sounds strict, it is in some ways, but it's not, because I just keep finding all of these substitutes that I like, and I just keep adding them to my tool belt. And now I'm in this place where I'm like, man, it's so easy to just not cheat, because everything I eat, I really like. So when I try to make a substitute, it has to pass test. It can't just be good on the numbers. It has to be like something that you really want to eat, something that you enjoy, and satisfies that craving that you have for the worst thing. I look at things in like a computer mindset, like a robot. A replacement for something could just have a whole lot less sugar, but maybe the same calories. Or maybe it's not really that healthy for you, healthy in the terms of like your organs, and it's not natural to eat. It's not super healthy for your cells, but it's a fix. You're really craving that, for me, chocolate milk, and now I have this like Atkins drink, and then bam, no sugar. It's like 40% the calories of chocolate milk, way more protein. It has all these vitamins in it. I don't know how great they are, but it tastes great. The only thing I sacrifice, honestly, is money. They cost quite a bit. And I'm always keeping my eye open. Where's that next chocolate milk substitute upgrade? I think of it like an upgrade. I'll find another one that's even less calories, or maybe it's the same calories or even a little bit more calories, but it definitely has like a more healthy, natural vibe to it. I'm sure Atkins protein drinks are not exactly holistic and just healthy like an apple is, natural, comes from the earth, something that you're definitely supposed to consume. It's a little bit manufactured, but for now, it's a huge answer to my problems. It's given me a lot of results, and I'll continue to drink it until I find something better. On top of that mindset of always upgrading, I actually do drink a lot less. I sort of lied. I said I drink a gallon. I used to drink about 100 ounces of them combining like the Members Mark protein and the Atkins. Combined would be like 100 ounces. But now I've been drinking less. I kept trying to lower it. I'm like, I don't think that these are the healthiest thing to put in my body, and these things add up. I try to look at what you put in your body. Imagine if you took the yearly amount and just like place it on the floor. What would it look like? It'd be a mountain of stuff. What would that mountain be made up of? High quality, healthy foods from the earth, or, manufactured fake stuff like the Atkins drinks. Something that I've been doing with them is I blend them with a banana and peanut butter, makes them last a lot longer. I even add a couple of ounces of water. So I make something like 80 ounces of it, but that's including the bananas and peanut butter. So it's a lot less. Now I'm probably drinking 40 some ounces of it combined when I'm older. I'm 31 now, and I'm very confident about when I'm older, because I track my calories, and because I have this mindset of take your ego out of it, take your cognitive dissonance out of it. Just because you love chocolate milk doesn't mean that's the end of it. Everyone else is crazy. I want to live my life. I have to eat it. Just, okay, fine. Drink it, have it, be satisfied, but keep your eye open for the next best thing. And eventually you will reach a point where you're like, oh my God, I'm drinking things that I really like. I'm eating things that I really like, and I'm healthy. I'm reaching my goals. I'm having less calories with control, without feeling like I'm starving myself or missing out on things. And before you know it, you'll be in a good place about it. So far, the apps I like, and I think they're pretty common, is MyFitnessPal and Chronometer. I think Chronometer is probably a lot better, and I'll get to why. But I barely use it. I am guilty of that. I'm gonna recommend you use it and not make the mistake that I have, because I feel like MyFitnessPal is a little bit more user friendly. It's a little easier to use. It doesn't look as like crazy, but in the end, you're going to get better at whatever you use, and Chronometer is definitely a lot more accurate and more efficient. And I'll get to why. A huge reason I like tracking calories, aside from body composition control, we need 14 elements and 14 vitamins every single day. And this piece of information right here is a game changer for me, because chances are if you have some kind of problem, it's probably because you're deficient in one of those things. And we need them every day. The body is pretty good in how it adapts, so you can certainly get away with missing some things for a couple of days, but you'll see a lot of problems. And even if you're healthy, let's say, for example, you just don't eat zinc. So you eat healthy things, you eat fruits, vegetables, whatever you deem healthy. I won't even get into that, whether it's vegan or not vegan. I'm not vegan. I'm pretty pro-vegan, but I understand all different sides of that. So whatever you deem healthy, you're eating a healthy thing, you're skipping McDonald's, yada, yada. for whatever reason, by your taste buds, you're not eating zinc. And so you don't eat zinc for weeks on end and months, and your yearly average of zinc is extremely deficient. This is going to cause one problem, which causes another problem, which causes another problem. And if people track their calories, or at least aware of this, they would save themselves from a lot of sickness and a lot of issues, because we do require those things. Our body needs them, and they have lots of functions. So when you use an app like MyFitnessPal, a beautiful thing is you track your calories, you put in all the foods you eat every day and the exercise, and then you can change the setting to weekly, for example, and now you can see what your weekly average is of protein, carbs, fat. You can also see your weekly average of zinc, and actually MyFitnessPal does not track zinc. This is why I like Chronometer. But you can see sodium, potassium, vitamin C, some of these things. So there's like a recommended amount that you're supposed to eat, average, and then you can click weekly and be like, oh, okay. So for myself, for example, I know I overdose on vitamin A. Some vitamins it's no problem to overdose on because the body pees them out. But some vitamins you don't. Some elements, some vitamins you don't. So vitamin A is one of them, unfortunately. They're in the Atkins drinks I like. They're in eggs. They're in a lot of things that I eat. So I noticed that I get about 4 to 5 times the recommended amount. Mind you, the recommended amount is what MyFitnessPal says. So there's an example right now where I'm claiming that I'm getting to this perfect spot where I have all these tools and I skip out on all these bad foods because I have these things I like to eat instead. And I've come to this place where I have everything pretty much handled. But I'm always looking for the next upgrade. So somewhere in the future, I'm a little young, I'm not worried about it now, but I do keep my eye open for it. And that's vitamin A. I probably need to maybe find a chocolate milk replacement that has less vitamin A, because I'm certainly overdosing on it and the body does not pee that out. So whatever problems that overdosing on vitamin A for years on end has, I would get that. So, or I'm likely to get that at least. So I'm going to try and work on that. Having that mindset, can only happen when you track your calories. And, I don't have to go, oh, that's it, I'm overdosing on vitamin A, I'm going to stop eating all this vitamin A. Right now, I like eating it. I like eating vitamin A because it's in all these things that I really like. That's why it's my weekly average. It's over. But I have it in my head, okay, I'm working on this. It's a goal of mine that I will eventually try to get that on a more normal amount. I also overdose on calcium. I get punched a lot. That's a little bit my excuse, maybe some of my own cognitive dissonance that maybe... and the body doesn't get rid of calcium, but maybe I can get away with eating more calcium than other people because I'm striked a lot, and maybe my bones need more calcium to rebuild. Maybe that's pseudoscience, I don't know. But again, it's something I am aware of, and the only reason I'm aware of it is because I track. So I will eventually try to get all of these things perfect. 14 elements, 14 vitamins that we need every day. If you track, especially because Chronometer shows pretty much all of them, MyFitnessPal only gives you a couple, but tracking allows you to recognize those things, those 28 things that you're supposed to eat every day, and to slowly improve them and make them a perfect amount for yourself, for your taste, for your calories, for your nutrient requirements, for your protein, carbs, and fat percentages. It doesn't get any better than that. It's completely changed my life. You got to start tracking your calories. As promised, I will show you the actual application of my tracking and all of the little tricks that make it a lot easier and are definitely responsible for why I continue to do it, because it's no issue. So one, you got a food scale. It's like $15 at Walmart. Not an issue, and it's very easy to use. Let's say you have a bowl on there and you're like, okay, well, that weighs something, but you don't want to include that. You just tap the power button again and then it restarts to 0. This is on grams right now. I use that for certain things, but you change the unit. You can make it milliliters, ounces, whatever. So right now it's on ounces, for example, and it's on 0. Of course, if you take it off, it'll be negative because this thing weighs 2 ounces. So now anything you put in here, it's going to come with the ounces. So when I get food together, I just put it on this first, and now I know the amount. It's pretty easy. I'll run you through an example. This is some meal prepped chicken I have and some meal prepped quinoa. So let's say, I wanted to eat 6 ounces of chicken. We're going to use 4.8 right now. So, okay, you got the chicken in that you want to put in, and then let's say I want to have 4 ounces of quinoa. I would just leave the chicken in there, tap this again, and it makes it 0 again. So now whatever you add, I would add the quinoa in, and then it would come up to the amount of ounces that I want. For things like sauces, then you would just change this unit to grams if you want it to be accurate. Unless the sauces show in ounces, then, you know, yeah. But I would just have this and pour some sauce in there, or something like peanut butter, and then bing, it tells you the grams, and now you know the exact servings you're getting. Another thing I like to do is meal prep a bunch of drinks, and of course got to be accurate. So before I put all the stuff in the blender, I stick it on here, put it on 0, and then I measure out the bananas in grams. You can use ounces or whatever you want to do. And yeah, so I just start throwing the bananas in there. It'll say whatever, like 500 grams. That's about what I eat a day of bananas. Then I'll 0 it again, and then I'll add peanut butter. I'll make sure that that's about 3 servings of it's like 105 grams. Now I'm good to go. Now I'm very accurate. Then I'll add my drinks, and all of that is accounted for, and it's very easy. Once you save all this stuff on your app, on Cronometer or MyFitnessPal, it just becomes so quick. The same way that you would make a drink with your blender, I do the same thing, but this is just under it being accurate. Then I go to my app and I go boom, 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 hit it. Bananas, the drinks I drink, peanut butter, it's all already saved. It's very easy to add in, and then bada bing, I'm done. Another thing I like to do, I could basically have a chef channel. I like to make peanut sauce for this pad thai that I have. Not only does this help me track calories, it also helps me be a good chef because I'm accurate. So I'll put 35 grams of peanut butter with this glass on here. I put that in there. It's, you know, just 1 serving. Then I'll put half of that in soy sauce, so like 18 grams, give or take 15, 20, whatever. And then about the same amount of that, another 15 or 20 grams of water, and mix it all together, and bada bing, I have a delicious peanut sauce to pour over pad thai that I make, but it doesn't have sugar. A lot of Thai places put sugar in their peanut sauce, and I don't eat sugar. I also don't eat rice or pasta, so I'm a little crazy for that. I'll use quinoa in my pad thai, so it's like barely pad thai, but it's delicious and it works. That's one of my replacements that makes me feel like, why would I ever cheat? This is so good. And you could also use healthier pasta versions, like pasta made out of peas, this and that don't turn into sugar. Those are pretty expensive. So right now I'm pretty happy with my quinoa, but it is an option down the line. So when it comes to drinks, particularly ones that aren't pre-made and on some container that tell you the calories, like the Atkins drinks that I like, it is of course labeled. I'll show you what I would do with drinks that aren't labeled. You would pour the drink in here, which I'll show you. Even though I don't need to measure this out, I know this is 250. It's already saved in there, but I have a glass that has markings, and I just pretty much refuse to drink out of anything that doesn't have markings because I like to know my amount because I track. Because I have an eating disorder, y'all. But here's something that is not marked, so I like to add that this is another huge replacement for me. It really makes things taste so decadent. Things like chocolate milk, but it has no sugar, alcohol, 0, and it's also quite low calorie. So this, you times this by 2 for an ounce, so every ounce is 40 calories. So basically, I would just drink this. This is delicious. But if I'm feeling like, you know, I want to have something even better, I would just look at the ounce markings and pour this in to add, you know, let's say 2 ounces. So that's 80 calories, and it tastes delicious. Then I mix it up. Bada bing, giving secrets away. So this is how I put into practice my calorie tracking. So after all of this incredible advice, life-changing advice, sorry it's long, but you know, you want to have life-changing things, it's going to take some time. I think even if you're watching this video and you see all this stuff and you think, wow, I can really start implementing this. You know, I think that maybe if I start now, a year from now, I'll have all these replacements and I'll be able to do yada, yada, yada. But a question will pop up, which is, but what about when I eat out? I can't weigh these things when I eat out, and I won't be able to know the exact calories and the nutrients and the this and that. So I think that's a pretty easy solution, at least for someone who only eats out once in a while, a week. I mean, at like a restaurant or something. Why? Because the apps have a lot of options for what you eat out, and the more you practice weighing stuff in your house that you cook, you'll start to get an accurate guess for things. You go to, let's say, an Applebee's or TGI Fridays or something, and a steak comes out, you can usually ask and say, how many ounces is this? And then you can look at something like green beans, which is such a very small amount of calories. You'll open up the app and it'll be like green beans, whatever, 2 ounces, this or that. And you can kind of guesstimate about how much it weighs, especially if you've weighed green beans at your house. You start to get a visual idea. Again, if this sounds like way too much, chances are people already do that just inaccurately. They're like, oh, this isn't so bad, but like it's a tremendous amount of calories. If your only issue, if you're able to do all of this, but then when you eat out, you might be off by a little bit, you're still more accurate than not tracking at all. I have a pretty good eye, I think, now. So if I eat something and it's like, okay, pasta with I don't eat pasta, but I'm using an example. Pasta with all of this Alfredo sauce. I know because I mix like heavy cream with things before, so I know some of those sauces are quite decadent. So I can eye it up and be like, oh, that looks like that might be like 2 ounces of that sauce, 3 ounces of that sauce, 3 ounces of some kind of oily thing like heavy cream or olive oil or whatever is going to be like 100, 150 calories. So I'll start guesstimating and try and put these things separately in the app. Like, okay, I think I had about 3 ounces of heavy cream or 3 ounces of olive oil, and then this amount of pasta, this amount of chicken, this amount of whatever you're eating, and then bada bing, you're good to go. This just reminds me of another huge replacement that I have that I like to share because it's definitely game changing. I liked getting those milkshakes from Wawa or from McDonald's. They'd have the caramel frap and then I put Oreos in it, and it's so good. The milkshake from Wawa is like 1,300 calories. So I've come up with a concoction and I'm so proud of it. I use this keto ice cream coffee chip. It's 600 calories for the pint. I use these high key keto cookies, no sugar. They suck. I mean, they really don't taste good. They're so little. They're kind of expensive. So it's easy to eat something like that and go, oh, I'm done with this. But if you're creative, that's why I'm so proud. I realized that, okay, I could put like 4 of these, so it's not that expensive. It's like 50 cents or $1 or whatever, and throw them in this shake. So I'll put the keto ice cream, those cookies, and then one of the Atkins chocolate milk drinks, protein, and it comes to about 900 calories for 30 ounces. So it's huge. 400 calories less than the Wawa drink. Just as good. I kid you not. The ice cream, pretty good. Oh, I forgot. I also put this, the low calorie, no sugar cashew milk. That cashew milk, if you drink it, it tastes fine. If you're going to be like a sweet tooth person like me, yeah, I'll be honest. It's okay. It's not that great. The ice cream, it's okay. It has like kind of a dry texture to it. So it's not perfect, considering the amount of calories. It's no sugar. It's also low carbs for keto. That's why it's keto ice cream. So those are its pros. But the cons are, it doesn't taste quite perfect. It's not amazing, decadent tasting. But when you blend it with the cashew milk, with the Atkins protein drink, or any kind of protein drink you like, and then those cookies, oh my God, it is a decadent drink. I just drink it and I laugh. I can't believe people don't track their calories, or I can't believe people eat sugar when they can have this instead. That pretty much wraps up my ranting of why you need to start tracking calories and all of the reasons that you should, all of the reasons that make it easy for you to start and work on your long-term effort with it, and even some quick little tips of how to apply it to your day, the actual applications that I use. All right, have fun.